Hi, it's Nicole and welcome to my channel where I get vocal about workplace bullying, harassment, intimidation, and all actions in between. Today is going to be a clear example of what we asked for versus what we got. What I mean by that is I have expressed before that Ursula had been under investigation, and I want to go a little bit into detail about that, what that means, what that looked like, how we got there. I think it is imperative that I give you guys a little bit of backstory, e.g. a timeline in terms of employment at the organization, so you can have a clear understanding of when we get to certain areas, who was around, why those certain people were no longer around, what was the culprit or the cause of that. Yeah, this video in no means is to bash or to criticize anyone, but to explain is to expose. And so I have to share certain elements with class and dignity, of course, but I just need to put certain things out there for you guys to be able to understand in its totality without really giving away too much of anyone's personal business or anything that's just not really relevant at all. I'm going to take us back to my initial start with the organization. So I came in under boss number one. When I came in, that boss was there for maybe like a year and a half. During that time, there was an executive assistant. There was also an accountant. There was a veteran of 25 plus years who we are going to refer to as the unicorn, as well as a grant development person who we are going to refer to as the fairy godmother. Then, of course, there was myself, the director of youth programs. And so those were, what, 5 of us plus a executive director. So 6 people. Now, I came on board in like October of 2015. So all of us were in place until May of 2017. Then in comes boss number 2, who is Cruella. So in January 2019, Cruella brings in Ursula. And this one was just interesting to say the least, because from the beginning, it's apparent that she's not really equipped to do anything. Like, she came in with the title of ad hoc. You know, we all know that that is just, you just gonna do whatever we tell you to do until we find something for you really to do. With all of that being said, it got to that point where it was very apparent that something was going on. It was just off, right? It was just very apparent that her baby daddy was someone. And I'll leave that there. And it was like, oh, okay, well then that makes sense. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, but whatever. In January of 2020, Cruella also brings in an artistic director. Cruella resigned in February. At the end of that is when the transition happened for Ursula to become the managing director. Cruella wanted to make sure that she can push this narrative of Ursula being able to run the organization if she had backup from the artistic director. So they were supposed to actually run the organization together. But eventually, Ursula just kind of moved the artistic director to the side. In May, Ursula fires the executive assistant. Mind you, we're in the height of the pandemic. She tells the executive assistant that it was the board's decision. She tells the board that the executive assistant quit. Soon after that, we get to maybe like October, November, she releases the accountant, which is accountant number 2, had been through 3 deaths, major deaths. Father, sister, husband. Ursula had been showing her tail every single time with no consideration. So let's just say that whole year of the pandemic was a little rocky. Like, Ursula was showing her tail. Everybody's trying to hang in there and support her because that's what was asked by Cruella of the fairy godmother and the unicorn, was to really help her. Why we need to help someone do their job and they're supposed to be at the top, I don't know. But that was what was asked. And they did try their best. So then we get to June of 2021, and Ursula gets promoted to executive director. At this particular time, the person that had become my assistant, who was the intern, she resigned. She was like, listen, I'm out. Soon after that, the person that she brought in to take over for the executive assistant, she was like, yeah, I'm done too. I'm out. So that was about November of 2021. We get to December 2021. When the young lady resigned, that was a big uproar because things were just in shambles. Now, this required the board chair, whom we are going to call Miss Trunchbull, it required her to step in and fix the problem. December, remember, is also when I resigned as an employee and we worked out me becoming a contractor. By February of 2022, the artistic director resigned. By May of 2022, my second assistant resigned. In between that time, come February, they hired an assistant for the unicorn and they hired an assistant for the fairy godmother. Both of those two didn't make it past a month. They both resigned in February. If you don't know why, I don't know what to tell you at this point, but there you have it. Also, the third person that was hired during that time, because it was 3 hired in the month of February, was Vanessa. So Vanessa was the only one that survived the month, and Vanessa was working with the artistic director. And the artistic director was only there for about 2 weeks of Vanessa's joining the team. We get to May, and Ursula hires a new assistant for the fairy godmother. And that is Sherifat. So let's revisit who we have. We have myself, we have the fairy godmother, we have the unicorn, we have Vanessa, we have Sherifat, and we have now our third accountant. We get to June. June comes and Ursula was supposed to be out of the country for a week with her daughter. It was quite interesting because the way that she was behaving was weird for somebody who's supposed to be overseas living their best life. At this point, I hadn't had any run-ins with her since I become a contractor. I did this week. I had to go back and check what I had written down, what I had done, and I'm like, I'm not really sure how this got to such a nasty tone from her. Like, at this point, we had squashed everything, moved on, especially past the PIP. I think that a lot of it was probably disingenuous because, remember, my assistant resigned, and so she needs my help now to help replace. And plus, I'm on a short contract. Like, my contract was supposed to end in May. I only gave her 5 months. However, the point is, we hadn't had any issues until this particular week. So she had a run-in with me. She had a run-in with everyone. That's not a joke. Every single person this week she had a run-in with. The one that really got to a serious head was she came back to the office after her trip, which was a Monday. I'm a contractor, so we've already negotiated. I got other things that I do, so I may not be able to be there every Monday. Pause. Keep in mind, they're treating me as if I am still an employee and not a contractor. I really shouldn't even be a part of these meetings, but I signed up for it, right? Because I'm a little on the smart side, right? I understand that what this contract is built as an employee, so if anything ever goes left, I got the fact that I am identified as an employee. I'm treated as an employee and not necessarily a contractor. So, whatever. We'll go ahead and do these meetings because the moment you make me and require me to do things that an employee does, that means I'm an employee in your mind. But okay, cool. I let her know I'm not going to be able to make it. I think Vanessa had gotten sick and she wasn't able to make it. So needless to say, Sherifat is the only one who showed up. When I say Ursula came in very disrespectful. Now, that's not necessarily my story to tell, but it was a heated situation. When I sat and digested the information I got off of that and what she was doing and encountering with other people, it was oh, so you came in the office to punch up on people because that's the area you have control, right? Plus, that empath part of me is like, something's off. Like, to be fighting with everybody, and literally that is what she was doing, was giving something's not right. So we had a meeting that we had already had scheduled for Friday. We have our meeting. I, at the end, was like, I just want to ask you a question. How are you doing? She was like, Nicole, I feel like that's a trick question. I said, actually, it's not. I just want to know how you, Ursula, are doing. So then she breaks down a little bit and she says, well, she explains what, situation she's in. And I'm like, yeah, I knew something was off. I just knew something was off because there's absolutely no way that you're fighting with everybody. And, I shared with her, I felt something. Didn't quite know what it was because you and I had been in a good place and I kept going back to our situation trying to figure out how we got to where you had taken it, and decided for real, this one isn't on me. Like it's not. Then, but of course I didn't tell her that I knew about that run and she had with other people. We get off the phone, I sent her a text and I'm like, you know what? I had some time to think about it. I feel like maybe you should just go ahead and take a week off because what you went through was very serious. I'm telling her, we got it. It's all good. We'll handle it. You take the time that you need or what have you. Her response was, I can't afford to, so on and so forth, whatever. I tried. I'm at least thinking like, trying to tell her like, listen, the run-ins that you've had, this isn't healthy. Needless to say, what frustrated me about that situation is that she later tried to throw it in my face that I went and told everybody her business. And I'm like, sis, it was on the news, right? Folk had already started to put two and two together because it had to do with her baby daddy. So it's like, ma'am, you're coming at me, accusing me of something, and you're accusing me as if this isn't public information. But I don't think sis know that we know her backstory. In the midst of all of that, there's conflict she's had with everybody. A couple of weeks later, she has a run-in with the fairy godmother. The fairy godmother at this point was like, I'm throwing in the towel, meeting. Now, granted, I don't think it was the best decision to rally the troops based off of this one encounter. However, it was going to happen, right? Because people were threatened to quit. They was about to not have any staff because all you have right now is myself, the fairy godmother, and the unicorn who have been there for a significant amount of time, and you got these two new people. Everybody else is gone. So the elders are looking at it as like, we need to try to keep y'all. Let's do our best to just get this fixed because, we can't keep doing this revolving door. That's their thought process. The organization got this HR person in February of 2022. This HR person is a contractor, but it only appeared that she was HRing when it involved a conflict. For example, she was not a part of any hiring processes, even though she's in place. She's not a part of anything that is HR related, except for when there is a conflict. So when the fairy godmother requests a group meeting, Ursula brings in the HR and was like, well, I already have our meeting scheduled for you, me, and HR. And she's like, no, we all need to have a discussion because everyone has issues. We can't keep doing this, what have you. Well, who is everybody? This is Ursula. So then the fairy godmother lists all the staff. She approaches Sherifat and Vanessa in person and tries to motivate them to go and talk to HR individually. It was almost given as a no choice. Now, keep in mind, HR has not been HRing unless it was in terms of a problem. So Sherifat and Vanessa doesn't have any, interactions with this lady, but she's being now pushed to go that direction. Plus, when Sherifat had her issue with Ursula was like, well, you can go and talk to HR. Now, how is that supposed to be something motivating to do when you have a problem? When someone is easy to throw in there, well, you got a problem, you can go talk to HR about it, right? So she's already feeling some type of way that it's being too easily thrust in her face that she can go and talk to her if she has any problems. And not in a pleasant way. Very condescending. So those two are feeling uneasy, but they're also like, no, it's been asked for a group meeting. We'll stick with that. She calls me. I have a conversation with her. She leads the conversation with this tangent. You know, if there's an issue and so on and so forth. And I'm like, so how we get here? How did we get to you calling me, telling me that you pretty much has it planned for me to go and talk to HR? What am I missing? Because she's not mentioning the fact that there has been a request for a group meeting. I know this information, but she's gaslighting me technically in this moment and trying to lead me in a direction she wants me to go in, and I'm not backing down because I already know that there has been a request for a group meeting. When I say to her that it has been asked for a group meeting, she's like, yeah. And I'm like, so is there a reason why you do not want to do that? It's not that we're not going to do it, is what she said. It's that we're going to start here. She's still pushing for this individual conversation. I said, you know what? Let me go talk to the fairy godmother. I'm going to make sure that I have an understanding because she's doing this gaslighting thing, trying to separate and divide folk. And I know the main reason why we wanted to be able to have a group discussion is because Ursula lies and Ursula can't hear. Now, mind you, I told Ursula that I was going to call the fairy godmother. I called the fairy godmother and I'm like, what's tea, sis? This is what happened. Nicole, I was just like, we need to have a group meeting. Like, this needs to end. This needs to stop. And I'm like, got you. So everybody is on board with having this group meeting. Now, keep in mind, because this is irritating. The fairy godmother is an elder. She did initiate the group, but she is not speaking for everybody. We have a voice of our own. We have a mind of our own. It's just sis was the first to push the button. The button was going to get pushed regardless. So for people to try to make it seem like the fairy godmother has this hold on people or that the older group are influencing the newer group, ma'am, people have had encounters with you. A conversation needed to be had based off of Ursula's behavior and people's interactions with her if we were going to be able to move forward. My concern, this is me, my concern about wanting to be a part of this conversation is the fact that you're about to now bring in new people in a toxic situation. Mind you, my assistant is gone. She has to replace my assistant. She was already having to replace me, but my assistant threw a monkey wrench into that situation. So now she technically has to find 2 new people for him and I. I didn't want to bring none of my Black sisters or brothers into a toxic situation. So my concern was addressing whatever needs to be addressed, get sis on track so no one has to encounter what we have endured. That was what I wanted. That was what I was fighting and advocating for. I even shared this with her. I don't think it's a good time for you to be trying to bring people in here and it's toxic. Plus, keep in mind, other people had their things. The elders had we want this revolving door to stop. We need you to stop doing what you're doing. That's their concerns. E.g., the fairy godmother and the unicorn. The 2 new people is like, we don't want to sit here and be abused. We too new. Right? Everybody had their agenda of why they wanted to be able to have a conversation with Ursula. But Ursula is trying to avoid this group discussion like it is the plague. It seems like HR is trying to facilitate individual conversations so she can now start HRing correctly and getting people's separate, I guess grievances or what have you. So it can make it seem like the organization has been addressing things in which they have not properly to begin with. I called Ursula back once I had a conversation with the fairy godmother and Ursula doesn't answer. So I sent her an email and I'm like, well, Ursula, I had a conversation and it seems like, yes, everybody wants to have a group discussion. Now, The reason why whistleblower was mentioned is because she tried to avoid having a conversation. Nowhere in the handbook does it say that we can't have a conversation about our grievances together. We can't, have a discussion about what have you together. And honestly, because no one has trust in this HR person that came out of the blue. And plus, we know the type of person that Ursula is, a pathological liar and cannot hear, that let's just go all and have a discussion. Also, to my point, there are some very strong accusations that the old team is influencing the new team. Let's go ahead and throw that out on the table. Because if that is actually happening, address it collectively, right? Let's address this old team that's influencing this new team together. Let's put it on the table. But again, they don't want to have a group discussion, even though they're making those types of strong accusations. From there, the HR jumps in and she says, I'm available for individual meetings. I jump in and I'm like, sis, we are available. So then the board chair jumps in. The board chair is going to, send this whole whistleblower, whatever it is that she was trying to do, was sending it. And I'm like, sis, well, if you want to go to the handbook, do you understand HR isn't even written in the handbook if you want to go there with it? Just saying, like, she's not even listed as the person that we would go to. Technically you are, so I mean, everybody's chiming in about, yes, we want to have a group meeting. We're going to keep it professional. There's no shifting. There's no movement. I text HR. I'm like, listen, let's have a conversation. I have a conversation with her 2 hours. I'm not lying. 2-hour conversation with HR. The entire time HR is like, well, individual meetings. I need to have individual meetings. We need to have individual meetings, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. And I'm like, listen, sis, that's not going to happen. Here's why it's not going to happen. There's no trust. There's no trust with you from some people. This is how some people feel. This is why they don't want to have a conversation necessarily with you one-on-one. They don't trust the organization. They don't trust the process. They don't trust, you. She's trying to convince me to go and convince the team to have individual conversations. I'm letting her know, I already know, sis, that I don't need to go back to them and tell them anything. No one wants to have an individual conversation with you, HR. Sidebar. There's also a conversation going on between the fairy godmother and Miss Trunchbull. They're having their back and forth via text. Again, they're singling out the fairy godmother, when the fairy godmother is either coming to me or someone else to be like, so y'all, they putting the pressure on for this individual meeting. What do y'all think? Okay, cool. Since she's already having a conversation, she's going back and relaying the message. It's very fishy that they want to do this whole separate thing. Like, what is that? What is the intent behind that? Why are they being so pushy about it? And now it's coming from so many different angles, from the board chair and from HR. Now, we done let so much time go by because I think we started on a Monday. Now it's Thursday with a whole bunch of back and forth. And Ursula sends this email. Let me read you this one because this is the catalyst of what we asked for versus what we got. So, from Ursula. Good morning, everyone. Thank you to all who have shared their sentiments, and I'd like to take a moment to apologize to you all for the state of the team right now. I know we are all disheartened and saddened that things have come to this point. In effort to try to clarify and start working through the process, we will meet today at 3 p.m. via Zoom with HR. Please look out for a Zoom link shortly. Thank you. Now, I don't know about anybody else. And they say, do not assume. However, I don't think this is an assumption type of situation. We asked for a group meeting, did we not? Did not everybody ask for a group meeting, did we not? This actually implies that that is what we're going to get. Does it not? Based off of what I just read. I'll post it as well so you guys can kind of read it, pause it, go back, process it yourself. However, that's not what we got. That is not what we got at all. And that's where this story ends today. I hope that you return so that you can have an understanding of what we got. Anyway, moving on. I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in. If no one told you today, please let me be the one to tell you. I love you. Bye.